Welcome to my channel. If you enjoy this story, don't forget to subscribe and like. In the frigid darkness of deep space, a drop pod hurtled through the contested outer rim of the galaxy, its metal hull glowing incandescent from the ferocious friction of Caritha's desert planet atmosphere. Inside the cramped cockpit, dim red emergency lights cast a faint glow on the sunset-hued skin of Kilira, a fierce warrior of the Veridani species. Her waist-length platinum hair shimmered like starlight, cascading over her shoulders as she adjusted the control panel with the precision of a seasoned soldier. Her emerald-green combat suit hugged her athletic frame, accentuating her strength, with strategic cutouts at the shoulders and hips, a Veridani tradition symbolizing confidence and readiness to face any challenge. Across from her sat Captain Ethan Cole, a Terran Alliance special operative, his dark brown hair cropped short and a faint stubble tracing a face scarred by countless battles. His black tactical armor clung to his chiseled muscles, but it was his piercing, calm blue eyes that unsettled Kilira. They were reluctant partners on a joint mission, delivering cargo to Solaris Outpost, a Terran Veridani Alliance facility nestled in Caritha's Crimson Desert. Despite weeks of working together, the tension between them hung like a taut string, ready to snap at the slightest touch. "Just look at how you humans name yourselves. It's proof you lack any creativity," Kilira teased, her voice laced with playful mockery as she glanced at Ethan. "Ethan, James, Michael, sounds like you picked them from some dull list." Ethan raised an eyebrow, the corner of his mouth twitching, unfazed by her jab. "And I'm guessing your Veridani name is some cosmic masterpiece?" He shot back, his deep voice tinged with sarcasm. "As if we need to base our names on star alignments or galactic poetry." Kilira smirked, her violet eyes glinting under the cockpit's faint light. "My true name," she said, her gaze drifting to the observation window where Caritha's scarlet dunes blazed under a merciless sun, "is a song of the cosmos, woven from the vibrations of celestial bodies at my birth. It's not just a name, it's my soul, my essence." Ethan tilted his head, a spark of curiosity flashing in his eyes, as if she'd unwittingly thrown down a gauntlet. "Sounds complicated. But what happens if I guess it?" Kilira turned to him, her smile turning mischievous, though her eyes held a trace of wariness. "By ancient Veridani law, if an alien guesses my true name, I'm bound to them forever. A soul oath, unbreakable." She shrugged, as if it were a harmless jest. "But there's no way a human like you could do it. Your brains aren't complex enough to handle it." Ethan's smile widened, slow and confident, a glint in his eyes that made Kilira uneasy. Without hesitation, he opened his mouth and produced a sound, complex, layered, a cascade of melodic tones like the shimmering light of distant stars. It resonated perfectly, a celestial song that seemed impossible from a human throat, precise to every note and frequency, as if he'd rehearsed it 1,000 times. Kilira's eyes widened, her sunset skin shifting to a deeper orange, as if her blood were boiling. How did you do that?" she whispered, her voice trembling, her hand instinctively tightening on the control stick. "No one but a Veridani can pronounce my true name. It's impossible." Ethan didn't answer immediately. He simply looked at her, his eyes harboring a secret, as if he held a piece of a puzzle she'd never known existed. The cockpit felt stifling, the narrow space shrinking under the weight of the moment. The Veridani soul oath was no trifling matter. It was a sacred bond, deeper than any human marriage, a connection that transcended time and space. But before Kilira could press him for answers, a shrill alarm blared, shattering the silence. Red lights flashed on the console, and the tactical display lit up with a fast-moving blip. "Collision warning!" Ethan shouted, his hands seizing the controls, switching the ship to combat mode. "We've got uninvited guests." Kilira snapped back to professional mode, her eyes still flickering with unanswered questions. Her fingers flew across the console, the screen revealing an unidentified ship at 3 o'clock, broadcasting no transponder signal. "Could be space pirates," she reported, her voice tense but controlled. "Or worse." Ethan shot her a glance, his eyes sharp as steel. "This sector's seen Cryon activity. Fanatics who despise multi-species alliances. If it's them, we're in deep trouble. The drop pod shuddered as a salvo of plasma bolts struck its outer armor, the metal screeching in protest. Ethan yanked the controls, sending the ship into a sharp roll to dodge a second barrage. At this rate, we won't make it to the outposts, Kilira said, activating the weapons system. Her hands moved with astonishing speed, firing a volley of energy beams in retaliation. Stay calm, Ethan replied, his voice steady despite his laser-focused gaze. I've gotten out of worse. Just keep them occupied. They raced through Caritha's narrow desert canyons, the ship skimming the ground, kicking up trails of crimson dust. Sunlight streamed through rock crevices, casting long shadows across the dunes. Kilira spotted a cave hidden beneath an overhanging cliff, its entrance veiled by shimmering mineral crystals. There! She pointed, her voice urgent. The minerals in the rock can jam their sensors. We can hide. Ethan nodded, piloting the ship into the cave with pinpoint precision, narrowly avoiding jagged stalactites. As the engines powered down, the cockpit fell silent, save for the sound of their ragged breaths. They monitored the enemy ship on the tactical display, watching it circle outside, unable to pinpoint their prey. They'll search for about an hour, then give up, Kilira said, her voice tinged with relief but still wary. She turned to Ethan, her eyes locked on him. You still haven't answered me. How did you know my true name? Don't tell me it was luck. Ethan disabled non-essential systems to conserve power, the cockpit dimming, accentuating the sharp lines of his face. Would you believe me if I said I heard it in a dream? He asked, his tone teasing but his eyes serious. No, Kilira shot back, the corner of her mouth twitching, though her heart raced. Ethan chuckled softly, leaning back in his seat, his gaze drifting to the cave's shadowed depths. 3 years ago, I was on a security detail at Alara Station, where your father led a Veridani delegation. During a naming ceremony for a trade pact, he spoke your true name as part of a blessing. I was in the back, just doing my job, but I couldn't forget that sound. Kilira frowned, her eyes narrowing with skepticism. Impossible. Human ears can't process the complexity of a Veridani true name, let alone remember it after one hearing. Ethan met her gaze, his expression turning grave, as if revealing a guarded truth. You're right. A normal human couldn't. But I'm not normal. He paused, choosing his words carefully. I volunteered for a Terran experimental program, augmented auditory processing, capable of handling frequencies beyond human limits. I can hear and replicate sounds even Veridani struggle with. That's why I was chosen for this mission. Kilira froze, stunned. In Veridani culture, bodily modification was taboo, an affront to the natural essence of the soul. You let them change you? She asked, her voice trembling with shock and curiosity. I chose it, Ethan corrected, his tone resolute. Humanity needs soldiers who can work with alien allies. Understanding their languages, even the ones deemed impossible, is a priority. I don't regret it. Kilira fell silent, grappling with shock and a growing sense of intrigue. She'd never met a human like Ethan, one who not only shattered biological barriers but also challenged her species' sacred traditions. So you knew about the Soloth? She asked, her voice softer, as if dreading the answer. Ethan nodded slowly, his eyes never leaving hers. I did. But I didn't mean to trap you with it. When you challenged me, it just slipped out. I didn't expect to get it right. The air between them grew heavy, the Soloth reshaping their relationship's very foundation. By Veridani law, they were now bound on a level deeper than any human ritual, an unbreakable tie. Kilira's heart pounded, not just from the oath but from Ethan's gaze, a blend of a warrior's confidence and something deeper, more intimate. But before she could speak, an urgent signal blared from the console, shattering the moment. A flickering holographic image appeared, showing Colonel Harris, Solaris Outpost Commander, with gunfire and explosions in the background. All Alliance units, Solaris Outpost is under attack by Cryon forces. We're overwhelmed. Request immediate assistance. Critical research data is at risk. The image cut off abruptly, leaving Ethan and Kilira in tense silence. "That's our destination," Ethan said, his voice hard as steel. "And the cargo we're carrying. I'm betting it's not just supplies." Kilira opened the secure cargo compartment beneath her seat, entering a complex code with trembling fingers. The hatch slid open, revealing not supply crates but a preservation unit holding vials of glowing liquid, like bottled starlight. "Genetic stabilizers," she explained, her voice wavering, her eyes conflicted. "For me." Ethan's brow furrowed, his gaze sharp but concerned. "What are you talking about, Kilira?" She took a deep breath, her violet eyes locking onto his, seeking solace in his steady presence. "The Veridani Council has been experimenting with human Veridani hybridization. I was chosen for my genetic compatibility with humans. This mission isn't just about delivering cargo, it's about creating a new hybrid generation." Realization dawned on Ethan's face, his eyes darkening. "You mean, they paired us deliberately for this?" She nodded, her gaze defiant yet uneasy, as if facing a truth she wasn't ready to accept. "But they didn't account for you knowing my true name. They didn't expect us to be soul-bound. That complicates everything." Ethan clenched his fists, processing the revelation. "So this mission was never about supplies. It's about engineering a hybrid child under controlled conditions. And the Cryon attack, it's not random, is it?" Kilira nodded, her voice barely above a whisper, as if admitting a painful secret. "The Cryon oppose multi-species alliances. If they know about this program, they'll target us, and the outpost." A deafening explosion shook the cave, dust raining from the ceiling. Ethan snapped into combat mode, his eyes cold and focused. "We need to get to Solaris Outpost. If the Cryon are after this research, they won't stop until they destroy everything." Kilira grabbed her plasma rifle, her eyes resolute despite the turmoil in her heart. "Together?" she asked, her voice low but firm. "Together," Ethan replied, restarting the drop pod's engines. As the ship roared out of the cave, slicing through the crimson desert under Caritha's brutal sun, they knew their mission had changed forever. They were no longer just teammates, they were two souls bound by an ancient oath, carrying a secret that could shake the galaxy. And somewhere, among the twinkling stars above, their destiny was being rewritten. Solaris Outpost loomed before Ethan and Kilira, a colossal metal fortress now reduced to a smoldering ruin shrouded in black smoke and roaring flames. The drop pod's sensors emitted a relentless beeping, signaling barrages from the east where Cryon ships concentrated their firepower. Ethan deftly piloted the craft to a covert auxiliary landing pad nestled in the shadow of a canyon, activating the stealth system to mask their presence. As they disembarked, carrying the preservation unit with its glowing vials, Caritha's scorching desert air seared their throats, heavy with the acrid stench of molten metal. "Sensors detect life signs," Kilira whispered, checking her handheld device, its blue glow illuminating her face and highlighting the tension in her violet eyes. "Both Veridani and human. They're still holding out, but time's running short." They moved swiftly through the outpost's emergency tunnels, red warning lights flickering on the walls, casting elongated shadows. Distant explosions echoed through the corridors, dislodging dust from the ceiling. Ethan led the way, plasma rifle gripped tightly, his sharp eyes scanning every dark corner. Kilira followed close behind, the preservation unit secured on her shoulder, each step radiating the resolve of a Veridani warrior. The tension between them lingered, but it had morphed into a new synchronicity, as if their soul oath had forged an unbreakable bond. Reaching a locked laboratory door, Ethan pounded on the comm panel, his voice low and commanding. "Captain Ethan Cole, Terran Special Forces. We received your distress signal. Open the door now." After a tense moment of silence, the metal door slid open, revealing a haggard group of survivors. Colonel Harris, the outpost's commander, stood with a singed uniform, his face streaked with dust and sweat. Beside him was Dr. Silvara, a Veridani scientist with platinum hair tied high, her lab coat stained with green blood, a testament to the recent skirmish. "Kilira." Silvara exhaled in relief, her violet eyes brightening. You brought the stabilizers. Kilira handed over the preservation unit, but her gaze lingered on the bloodstains. What happened here? She asked, her voice low but razor-sharp. What do the Cryon know about this research? Silvara and Harris exchanged a guarded glance, as if weighing how much to reveal. Harris spoke first, his voice heavy. They know everything. The Cryon's purist faction is targeting the main lab, where all the data on the hybridization program is stored. They don't just want to destroy the outpost, they want to erase the project entirely. Ethan stepped forward, his blue eyes cutting like a blade. What is this program? Kilira told me part of it, but I need the full truth. Now. Silvara sighed, her eyes conflicted as she looked at Kilira. Kilira isn't just a volunteer. She's the culmination of generations of genetic research. Her parents were selected for their biological compatibility with humans. From the embryonic stage, she was optimized to produce a superior hybrid generation, telepathic communication, rapid self-healing, and extended lifespans. She's a cornerstone of the plan to strengthen the Terran-Veridani alliance. Kilira stiffened, her fists clenching until her nails dug into her palms. Her sunset-hued skin paled, her violet eyes blazing with anger and hurt. So I'm just an experiment? A tool crafted for your agenda? No. Silvara countered, her voice softening but firm. You were created with potential. But how you wield it, how you live your life, that's your choice. No one can take that from you. A nearby explosion rocked the lab, sending equipment crashing to the floor. Harris checked the security feed, his face taut. They'd breached the second perimeter. We've got 20 minutes tops, before they overrun us. Ethan assessed the situation, his mind racing with a soldier's precision. We need a defensible position. Does the auxiliary lab have reinforced walls and an independent power supply? Yes. Silvara nodded, her eyes lighting up as she grasped Ethan's plan. It also has advanced medical equipment and a backup data archive. We can hold out there. The survivors began moving supplies, preparing to relocate to the auxiliary lab. Ethan pulled Kilira aside, his voice low with concern. You okay? The genetic program revelation. I know it's a lot to process. Kilira shook her head, her sunset skin fading under stress. I've spent my life serving, meeting the Council's expectations. Now, learning I was engineered to be a piece of their puzzle, it makes me feel like I'm not even myself. Ethan placed a hand on her shoulder, his blue eyes unwavering, as if pouring strength into her. Whatever you were created for, what matters is what you choose. No one, not the Council, not the Cryon, can force you. You're Kilira, a Veridani warrior, and the woman who stole my heart from the moment I saw you. Their eyes locked, a silent current of emotion passing between them. Kilira felt the warmth of his hand, a comfort she'd never found in years of combat. She nodded, her gaze igniting with renewed resolve. Thank you, Ethan. I won't let them dictate my fate. The auxiliary lab became their final stronghold, its thick reinforced walls and independent power supply offering a fleeting sanctuary. The survivors set up guard posts, with Ethan and Kilira taking the first watch. Caritha's frigid desert night enveloped the outposts, the only sound the howling wind through the rocky crevices outside. Kilira couldn't sleep, her mind reeling from Silvara's revelations. She slipped into a small corner that once served as a researcher's office, now a makeshift refuge with a narrow cot and a dust-covered desk. Ethan appeared at the door, having shed his tactical armor to reveal a lean, muscular frame in a black sleeveless shirt. His stance exuded vigilance, but his eyes softened as they met hers. You should rest, he said, his voice low but laced with worry. We'll need our strength for what's coming. So should you. Kilira replied, her gaze unwavering. She sat on the cot's edge, her platinum hair spilling over her shoulders. I keep thinking about what Silvara said. That I was designed to be compatible with humans. That we were paired for their plan. It makes me wonder, are my feelings real? Ethan stepped inside, the door sliding shut behind him, creating an intimate cocoon. He sat beside her, mere inches apart. Does it change how you feel? he asked, his voice deep and sincere. She shook her head, her violet eyes resolute, as if affirming it to herself. No. If anything, it makes me want to prove my emotions are mine, not theirs. She paused, taking a deep breath. When you spoke my true name, I was terrified, not because I didn't want to be bound to you, but because I'd felt something, from the moment we met. Ethan touched her cheek, his fingers gently tracing her cool Veridani skin, marveling at the wondrous contrast to his own warmth. In my culture, he said softly, love is how we make the invisible tangible. It's how we tell the universe we choose someone, no matter the barriers. Their foreheads touched, their breaths mingling in the confined space. In that moment, all barriers, cultural, biological, or governmental, seemed to dissolve. Their first kiss was tentative, exploratory, like charting an uncharted star system. But it quickly deepened, their biological differences sparking novel sensations, her cool skin against his warmth, a symphony of opposites in harmony. In the dimness of the small room, they explored each other, transcending bodily and cultural divides. Soft laughter broke the silence as Kilira teased Ethan about his clumsy attempt to unfasten her armor's clasps, followed by sighs as they merged in a moment of intimacy. When the fervor subsided, they lay together on the narrow cot, Kilira tracing circles on Ethan's chest, feeling the steady thrum of his heartbeat. Do you think it happened? She asked, her eyes drifting to her abdomen, her voice trembling with a mix of excitement and fear. There's a way to find out, Ethan replied, rising and leading her to the lab's medical bay. The medical scanner hummed to life, emitting soft beeps as it analyzed Kilira's body. Within seconds, the screen displayed the result. A fetus had formed, developing at an extraordinary rate, far beyond biological predictions. Kilira stared at the screen, her violet eyes wide, her voice shaking. They knew exactly what they were doing, didn't they? They planned it all. Ethan wrapped his arms around her from behind, his warmth a steady anchor in her emotional storm. Whatever they did, this is our child, he said, his voice gentle but firm. Our choice, not theirs. The fleeting peace shattered with a massive explosion that rocked the lab. Harris's voice crackled through the comms, urgent and strained. The Cryon breached the final perimeter. They're advancing on the central hub. We need to act now. Ethan and Kilira sprang into action, swiftly donning their armor and checking weapons. But as they prepared to leave, a sudden pain doubled Kilira over, her hands clutching her abdomen, her face contorted. Ethan, she whispered, her voice taut, her sunset skin paling. The baby, it's coming. Ethan caught her, his eyes flashing with worry but maintaining a soldier's calm. I'll get you to safety, he said, his voice unwavering. Silvara will know what to do. As they rushed back to the medical bay, a news signal interrupted the console, not from Harris. A cold, authoritative voice echoed through the comms. Solaris Outpost, this is the Veridani Council's pursuit team. Kilira, you carry our property. Surrender the stabilizers and the child, or we will annihilate everything. Kilira gripped Ethan's hand, her eyes blazing with defiance. The child isn't property, she whispered, her voice trembling with fury. And neither am I. Ethan squeezed her hand, his gaze icy. We're not surrendering anything. Together, we'll protect our child. As explosions continued to echo through the corridors, Ethan and Kilira realized they faced not only the Cryon but also those they once called allies. The soul oath that had sparked in a fleeting moment now burned as their guiding flame, driving them to confront every danger to safeguard their future, and that of their unborn child. Solaris Outpost shuddered violently under the force of an explosion, smoke and dust billowing through its corridors like a grim warning that time was running out. In the cramped medical bay of the auxiliary lab, pale blue light from the medical scanner bathed Kilira's sunset-hued skin, now paler than usual, reflecting her exhaustion and the searing pain racking her body. Ethan Cole steadied her, one hand gripping her shoulder, the other clasping her trembling hand. Kilira's face contorted in agony, yet her violet eyes burned with the unyielding resolve of a Veridani warrior. The automated medical system's cold, emotionless voice announced, Fetus has reached the equivalent of the third trimester. Delivery is progressing rapidly. Expected birth within minutes. Ethan tightened his grip on Kilira's hand, his deep blue eyes unwavering despite the pounding of his heart. You've got this, Kilira, he said, his voice low but brimming with strength, brushing back her sweat-soaked platinum hair. I'm right here, and I'm not going anywhere. Kilira nodded weakly, fighting the pain with the deep breathing techniques of her people, her lips pressed tight to stifle a groan. Talk to me, Ethan, she whispered, her voice quivering, her eyes seeking solace in his presence. Help me forget this pain, even just for a moment. Ethan's face softened, a warm smile breaking through the sterile chill of the medical bay. You know, when I was a kid, I'd sneak into my dad's data vault and listen to recordings of alien languages. I tried to mimic them, even though my ears could barely catch half of it. When I heard your true name at Alara Station, it was like a song that lodged in my mind. I couldn't forget it, no matter how hard I tried. He paused, gently wiping a bead of sweat from her forehead. I had no idea that song would lead me to you. Tears shimmered in Kilira's eyes, not just from the pain but from the swell of emotion his words evoked. And now you're bound to me forever, she said, forcing a faint smile despite her paling face as another contraction gripped her. The best choice I ever made, Ethan replied, his voice resolute, his gaze locked on hers as if the universe itself revolved around them. The medical bay door slid open abruptly, and Dr. Silvara rushed in, her face etched with worry, her lab coat stained with green blood from an earlier wound. She quickly checked the scanner, muttering to herself. The genetic stabilizers aren't strong enough. The soul oath between you two triggered a biological catalyst we didn't anticipate. It's accelerating the birth beyond our projections. She prepared an injection of glowing fluid, her expression grave. This might slow things down, but we need to get her to a proper medical facility within 24 hours, or both mother and child are at risk. Before Kilira could respond, a deafening explosion rocked the outpost. Equipment rattled, and glass vials shattered on the floor. Colonel Harris's voice crackled through the comms, urgent and strained. The Cryon breached the final perimeter. They're advancing on the central hub. We need to retake the command center to activate the escape pods, or we're done for. Ethan looked at Kilira, his eyes blazing with determination but shadowed with deep concern. I have to help them, he said, his voice low, his hands still clutching hers. But I'll be back, I swear. Kilira gripped his hand, her nails digging into his skin, her eyes fierce despite the pain tearing through her. Go, Ethan. But promise me you'll come back. For me, and for our child. I promise, he said, leaning down to press a gentle kiss to her forehead, the warmth of his lips a silent vow. He rose, grabbing his plasma rifle, his eyes shifting to the icy focus of a Terran's special operative, ready to face any threat. In the outpost's darkened corridors, Ethan moved with lethal precision, hugging the walls to avoid enemy fire. The screech of plasma blasts and the roar of explosions filled the air, a chaotic symphony of war. He contacted Harris via comms, his voice steady but urgent. Status, Colonel? They've got us outnumbered, Harris replied, his voice taut, punctuated by nearby gunfire. But we've got a surprise. The Cryon signals indicate this isn't their regular military, it's the purest faction, extremists who oppose interspecies hybridization. They don't represent the Cryon government. Ethan's brow furrowed, his mind racing. So the Cryon leadership isn't behind this? Can we contact them? We picked up a signal from a Cryon diplomatic ship, Harris said. They're en route, but it'll take at least 2 hours. If we can retake the command center and hold our ground, we might negotiate. But we need to move now. Ethan nodded, though Harris couldn't see, his eyes alight with resolve. I'm on my way. Prep the assault plan. Reaching the area near the command center, Ethan found Harris and 3 other survivors crouched behind a collapsed wall, debris scattered across the floor. Harris signaled, whispering, 8 purists inside. They're trying to hack the database for the hybridization program data. If they succeed, it's either wiped or in the wrong hands. Ethan checked his plasma rifle, his gaze cold as steel. I'll draw their fire. You hit them from the east. Make it quick and clean. The plan unfolded with lightning speed. Ethan triggered a small explosion in a nearby corridor with an EMP grenade, luring 4 purists away. As they moved, Harris led the eastern assault, dropping 3 with precise shots. Ethan surged in from the west, using his special forces training to neutralize the remaining 3 silently, moving like a phantom in the dark. The command center was secured, but at a cost. 1 survivor lay gravely wounded, blood pooling on the metal floor. Harris activated the main console, his fingers flying over the touch controls to contact the Cryon diplomatic ship. Cryon vessel, this is Solaris Outpost, he said, his voice hoarse with exhaustion. We need urgent assistance. The Purist faction is attacking, targeting critical research data. A calm, authoritative female voice responded. This is Ambassador Voron of the Cryon Federation. We'll arrive in 90 minutes. Hold your position and protect the data. We do not condone the Purist actions. Ethan exhaled, but his fleeting relief was cut short by an urgent comm from Silvara. Ethan, she's giving birth. Her voice trembled with excitement and fear. I need you here now. Ethan sprinted back to the medical bay, his heart pounding, combat boots slamming against the metal floor. Bursting through the door, he found Kilira on the delivery table, her face drenched in sweat but her eyes fierce, as if waging another battle, to bring their child into the world. Silvara stood beside her, operating the scanner, her voice a mix of awe and tension. The baby's almost here, she said. But its genetic structure, it's beyond our predictions. The Soloth created an unprecedented biological phenomenon. Kilira clutched Ethan's hand, her nails biting into his skin, her violet eyes flashing with fear and determination. Don't leave me, Ethan, she whispered, her voice faint but resolute. Never, he vowed, kneeling beside her, his gaze locked on hers like an unspoken oath. The birth unfolded with astonishing speed, fueled by the Solotha's biological catalyst. Kilira poured every ounce of strength into the effort, her cries mingling with the scanner's beeps. With Silvara's guidance, the child's first piercing cry shattered the room's tension. Silvara gently placed the baby on Kilira's chest, her voice choked with emotion. A girl. Perfect. Named Lyra, the child had skin that shimmered between human tones and Veridani sunset hues, sparkling like starlight. Her fine platinum hair and glowing golden eyes, quintessentially Veridani, made her a cosmic marvel. But what stunned Ethan and Kilira was the faint light radiating from her tiny body, as if she carried the energy of the stars themselves. Silvara checked the scanner, her eyes widening in astonishment. She's more than a hybrid. She has telepathic abilities, a natural bridge between humans, Veridani, and even Cryon. This is unprecedented, a new evolutionary leap. Before they could process this, the medical bay door slid open. Ambassador Voron entered, her tall, graceful figure clad in Cryon diplomatic garb, her eyes locking on Lyra with awe and reverence. Forgive my intrusion, she said, her voice soft yet weighty with understanding. But this child, she could change everything. The Purists seek to destroy her, but the Cryon government sees her as a symbol of interspecies peace. Ethan stepped in front of Kilira and Lyra, his eyes wary, his hand hovering near his weapon. She's not a political tool, and we're not handing her over to anyone. Voron nodded, her gaze softening. I understand, Captain Cole. I'm not here to demand. I'm here to offer protection. The Purists won't stop, and your governments, they've abandoned this outpost. Harris entered, his face grim, his uniform torn. I just got word from Proxima Station, he said heavily. The Terran Alliance and Veridani Council have labeled us expendable. They're denying the hybridization program to avoid diplomatic fallout with the Cryon. We're on our own. Kilira gripped Ethan's hand, her eyes blazing with fury. They see me and Lyra as property, don't they? She asked, her voice trembling with rage. They think they can control us, after everything we've done. Ethan nodded, his gaze cold as steel, but his hand squeezed hers, offering comfort. "We need to get Lyra out of here," he said firmly. "Kilira, you mentioned secret escape pods. Where are they?" Silvara, weakened by her earlier wound, pointed toward the corridor. "Level 3, Sector D. But they require an authorization code only I have. We need to hurry. The purists are closing in." The survivors split into two groups. Ethan, Kilira, and Silvara headed for Sector D, while Harris led the others to defend the command center, buying time. Kilira, still aching from childbirth, held Lyra close, the child's faint glow like a tiny beacon guiding them. They navigated the dark corridors, the sounds of explosions and gunfire growing nearer. Reaching Sector D, they were ambushed by purists lurking in the shadows. A shot struck Silvara before Ethan could react, and she collapsed, green blood pooling beneath her. With her last strength, she pressed a crystalline code key into Ethan's hand. "Get the girl out," Silvara whispered, her eyes fading but resolute. Ethan dispatched two purists with precise shots, while Kilira, despite her weakness, activated an energy shield to protect Lyra. They reached the escape pod bay, and Ethan inputted the authorization code. But a harsh truth emerged. Only one pod was operational, with room for just 3. With Silvara wounded and Harris still fighting, they faced a heart-wrenching choice: leave the others behind, hoping the Cryon ship arrived in time. As the escape pod launched, tearing through Caritha's crimson sky, Kilira held Lyra tighter, her eyes gleaming with determination. But a new signal crackled through the pod's comms, not from Harris. A cold, commanding voice from the Veridani Council declared, "Kilira, you carry Council property. Surrender the child and stabilizers, or our pursuit team will hunt you to the galaxy's edge." Ethan clasped Kilira's hand, his eyes blazing with defiance. "They'll never touch our daughter," he said, his voice low but fierce. "We'll disappear, Kilira. Together." Kilira nodded, her violet eyes alight with resolve. As the escape pod soared into space, carrying their small family, they knew the fight was far from over. But with Lyra in their arms and their soul oath binding them, Ethan and Kilira were ready to face any challenge to protect their daughter's future, and the galaxy's. The Cryon diplomatic ship glided smoothly through the vast expanse of space, its sleek, curving design a stark contrast to the rugged warships of the Terran and Veridani fleets. In a private cabin, soft light from the ceiling panels cast a serene glow, creating an oasis of calm amidst the infinite darkness of the cosmos. Ethan Cole stood by the observation window, cradling Lyra in his arms, his strong hands gently supporting her tiny frame. Lyra's golden eyes seemed to reflect the light of distant stars, as if she were a fragment of the galaxy itself. "That's Earth," he whispered, pointing to a twinkling speck in the void. "Where I grew up, with green fields and deep oceans. And there, beyond that shimmering nebula, is Viridia, your mother's home, where the stars sing their songs." Kilira lay on the medical bed, her body still weary from the dramatic birth, but her violet eyes radiated tenderness as she watched her husband and daughter. Her sunset-hued skin had regained a hint of its warm glow, though it remained pale. She smiled, her voice soft but brimming with love. "She carries both of us within her, Ethan. And something greater, a future none of us can predict." Ambassador Vorin knocked lightly before entering, her tall figure exuding authority yet softened by warm eyes. She handed Ethan a small, faintly glowing data crystal. "These are new identities, untraceable credits, and coordinates for independent colonies in the Outer Rim," she said, her voice low but sincere. "You deserve freedom, to live on your own terms." Ethan accepted the crystal, his deep blue eyes flickering with gratitude and wariness. "Why are you helping us?" he asked, his tone measured. "The Cryon have no reason to risk themselves for us." Vorin's gaze settled on Lyra, softening as if beholding a wonder. "Because what was done to Kilira without her full consent was wrong, a stain on the ideals of peace we uphold. And because this child proves that our species, human, Veridani, Cryon, are stronger together than apart. Lyra is a bridge, and I believe she will reshape how we see one another." After Vorin left, Ethan and Kilira began preparing for their new journey. Dr. Silvara, though still weak from her wounds, had recovered enough to provide medical supplies and a detailed report on Lyra's unique biology. Her development is faster than normal, Silvara explained, her voice tinged with awe and concern. Monitor her closely, and if anything seems unusual, contact me through the encrypted channel. Colonel Harris, reluctant to step away from the battlefield, shared tactical tips for evading detection in space. The Cryon ship will drop you near the Vidian Nebula, he said, his voice rough with exhaustion. From there, find a civilian transport to the Outer Rim. Stick to back routes and trust no one claiming to be an ally. Kilira nodded, her sharp mind already crafting a meticulous plan. We'll need a cover story, she said, her violet eyes twinkling with mischief. Perhaps two scientists who met on an interstellar expedition, fell in love, had a child, and now seek a quiet life where no one knows them. Ethan chuckled, his eyes brightening as he looked at her. Close to the truth, but our real story is far more thrilling. How could a cover story compare to me guessing your true name and turning the galaxy upside down? Kilira's laughter rang out like a melody, warming the cold cabin. Her sunset skin glowed brighter, its light seeming to blend with the faint radiance emanating from Lyra. Imagine telling Lyra, she said, her voice bubbling with joy. Your mother teased that she'd marry your father if he could guess her true name. And not only did he do it, he made her fall in love for real. As the shuttle detached from the mothership, plunging into the shimmering darkness of the Vidian Nebula, Ethan took Kilira's hand, his fingers intertwining tightly with hers. Lyra slept peacefully in Kilira's arms, unaware that her existence had altered the fate of countless worlds. The nebula's light streamed through the window, painting their faces with radiant streaks. Are you scared? Ethan asked, his voice low, his eyes searching for truth in hers. Yes, Kilira admitted, squeezing his hand, her violet eyes shining with honesty. But not of what lies ahead, not the purists or the Council's hunters. I'm scared I'll wake up one day and find this was all a dream, that you never spoke my true name, that we never found each other, that Lyra isn't real. Ethan leaned down, whispering three simple human words, heavy with power and meaning. I love you. Though brief, they carried the steadfastness of a soldier, and the sincerity of a father and husband. Kilira responded with a Veridani melody, a short but profound song, like starlight twinkling in the night. The tune wove with their heartbeats, creating a wordless symphony of love and hope. As the shuttle vanished into the cosmic dark, bound for the Outer Rim, they carried not only hope for their small family but the seeds of a new future, a future where humans, Veridani, and Cryon could together write tales of peace and unity. Lyra, the embodiment of that connection, slept soundly in her mother's arms, her faint glow a promise that, no matter how vast or harsh the universe, the love and resilience of souls daring to dream would always find a path to the light. Dear listener, you who have journeyed with Ethan, Kilira, and Lyra through the glittering stars of the galaxy, as you turn the final page of When Humanity Reaches the Stars, I hope this story has left an imprint on your heart, like the light of a newborn star. Its greatest strength lies not in the battles waged in Solaris Outpost's crumbling corridors or in the era-defying scientific breakthroughs, but in love, a soul bond that transcends species, culture, and political machinations. From a playful challenge over a true name, Ethan and Kilira found each other in sincerity, willing to sacrifice everything to protect Lyra, a symbol of hope and harmony. Their tale reminds us that, in a universe rife with conflict, understanding and compassion are the most powerful guiding flames. What is the lesson of this journey? It is the power of choice. Bound by fate, the Veridani Council's schemes, or the purest zealotry, Ethan and Kilira chose to love, to protect, and to build a future for their daughter. You, dear listener, hold that same power, to choose how you see the world, how you love, and how you stand against injustice. I crafted this story in quiet hours, my mind wandering between reality and dreams, wondering, what happens when two souls from different worlds decide to rewrite their destiny together? Now I want to hear from you. Did the moment Ethan spoke Kilira's true name stir your heart? Did Lyra's birth make you believe in a harmonious future? Did the ending, as they plunged into the Outer Rim's darkness, leave you yearning for their next chapter? Your feedback is the beacon lighting my creative path. Like the soul bond between Ethan and Kilira, I reach across the void, hoping to connect with you. Share your thoughts, be they whispers of awe, shouts of excitement, or quiet reflections. They will shape the stories yet to come, where we, writer and listener, explore new horizons together. And who knows? Perhaps, like Lyra, a new light awaits discovery, right within your imagination.